Thank you guys for joining Meg and I today to talk about the FISHstory project. Before getting into the project itself, just wanted to quickly introduce ourselves. So again, I'm Julia Bird. I work at the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, and we have a citizen science program. And so a lot of what I do is I work with scientists and fishermen to work together to develop different projects to fill data gaps so that kind of good decisions can be made about regulations to put on fisheries, different fish species. And so that's a little bit about me. Meg, you want to quickly introduce yourself?
I would love to. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for this live event. It's going to be a great time. My name is Meg Withers, and I'm the Citizen Science Project Coordinator for the Council. And so, as Julia mentioned, we have a citizen science program. So we have multiple projects in which we work with members of the public. So I kind of help with a bunch of those projects and do a lot of the communication for those. And I'm really excited to dive into FISHstory. It's going to be great.
All right. So first things, before getting into FISHstory itself, I just wanted to take a minute and give a shout out to all the different folks who are involved in FISHstory. This project wouldn't be possible without so many amazing partners and volunteers. As Meg and I mentioned, it's kind of a project that's under the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council Citizen Science Program. So we're kind of leading the research charge here, but we work really closely with folks from North Carolina State University from their CMAST program, which is the Center for Marine Sciences and Technology. So it's on the North Carolina coast. We work really closely with folks from NOAA Fisheries, and then with a lot of fishermen and other kind of state agencies and partners throughout the region. And so we have a ton of different volunteers helping with lots of different aspects of the project, from kind of project design to kind of having volunteers in Zooniverse that help us kind of classify and analyze these photos. And hopefully at the end of the call today, we may have some new members on the FISHstory team helping us kind of analyze photos in the project. And so the first thing we wanted to do before getting into kind of the project is see if any of you guys have participated in FISHstory before. We originally launched FISHstory and Zooniverse back in 2020. And so just wanted to see if there are any kind of members of the FISHstory team on board the webinar today.
We have a bunch of noobs so far. Same, don't worry. I've only looked at it a couple times. Got 66% participating. I'll let it go a couple more seconds. 80% is my goal. Our goal. Or maybe not. 3, 2, 1. All right, you got a bunch of noobs.
All right, that's awesome. FISHstory is a project that kind of welcomes volunteers from anywhere, so I'm excited to kind of introduce y'all to the project. All right. So before getting into FISHstory, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the organization that Meg and I work for. So some of you guys may be familiar with the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council, others may not. So we're based in Charleston, South Carolina, and the South Atlantic Council is responsible for management of fisheries in federal waters. So that's 300 to 200 miles offshore from kind of the North Carolina-Virginia border down through the Florida Keys. And so the council manages over 64 different species of fish and crustaceans. So it's a very diverse group of species: dolphin fish, mackerels, snapper grouper, shrimp, a deep water crab called golden crab. So lots of different fish and crustacean species. But then we also manage sargassum seaweed and a lot of different coral species as well. And the way we manage them is through what we call fishery management plans. So it's basically a plan where the South Atlantic Council makes recommendations on regulations for these different species to make sure folks can kind of catch them today, but they're also around for our kids or our grandkids or our great-grandkids to kind of catch in the future. And so in the South Atlantic region of the US, we're also kind of unique because much of the fish that are harvested are from recreational fisheries. So that could be folks fishing kind of in their own private boat, or they could be paying to go out with a charter captain or a headboat captain. Although we didn't really have any recreational monitoring programs in place until the mid-1970s. But we knew that people were recreational fishing before then. If y'all have ever read any Ernest Hemingway books or looked at Zane Grey's kind of old photos, there are a ton of photos of folks kind of fishing from the 50s and 60s. And a lot of the kind of population health assessments that we do on different fish species start before the 1970s. So that means we really need to figure out what was being caught by the recreational fishermen kind of prior to the 1970s when we had these catch monitoring programs in place. And so having more information about kind of what fish were being caught and what size fish were being caught not only would help us better understand what was happening kind of historically, but knowing what happened, 50 years ago can also help us figure out how healthy our fish are doing today, our fish populations are doing today. And so the FISHstory project is kind of helping fill this kind of historic data gap. And to introduce you to the FISHstory project, I wanted to introduce you to Rusty Hudson. So Rusty, this is a picture of Rusty back in the summer of 1968. He was about 8 or 9 years old. And he came from a fishing family. So he's a third generation fisherman, and he started working on his granddad's fishing boat when he was 9 years old, and he was a bait boy, helping get the bait together to kind of give to the customers who were fishing on the boat. And so Rusty started when he was 9, but then this is a kind of more recent picture of Rusty, and he's a commercial fisherman and a captain who took kind of customers out on the water to fish. And in addition to fishing, he was kind of his family's historian. And so they grew up in kind of the Daytona Beach area, Florida. And so if you zoom in even closer, they fished out of Ponce Inlet, which is kind of where this orange star is, from 2 locations, Inlet Harbor and then the Timmins Fish Camp. And so his family had multiple boats. The Mako, which is kind of the boat in the center there, is where Rusty got a start as a 9-year-old, being a bait boy. But at the end of trips, when their captains would take out folks fishing, there's this long-standing tradition of the customers would come back to land, they kind of display their harvested catch on this kind of wooden leaderboard is what we call it, and then take a commemorative photo. So they would kind of remember their day on the water and kind of all the fun they had with their family and friends. And so Rusty, as his family's historian, kind of collected these photos from all of his family's fishing fleet. And so he started to get involved with the South Atlantic Council and realized immediately how valuable these old fishing photos were. So this is just another example of one. And he really knew that these historic photos were kind of an untapped source of information that can help us learn more about what was caught in this historic time period. And so what Rusty did is he packed up all of his photos in boxes, and he brought them to kind of meetings where the South Atlantic Council kind of met and talked to scientists. Scientists saw the pictures and thought, oh my gosh, these are so valuable. How do we analyze all this information? And because Rusty had hundreds and hundreds of photos, they had a real hard time getting the project started until citizen scientists got involved. And so that's what made the FISHstory project. So having help of volunteers from all around the world help us analyze these hundreds and hundreds of photos. And so the FISHstory project was born, and it has kind of 3 components. And the first is just trying to digitize and archive all of these old historic fishing photos. The folks who have these photos aren't going to be around forever, so we want to make sure that we digitize them. There's a lot we can learn about fisheries of the past, and kind of these photos are really valuable. So we're working hard to kind of digitize and grow our archive of photos. The second part of the project is we want to estimate kind of the for-hire catch composition. So what fish were being caught in the photos. And to do that, we're using the online crowdsourcing platform Zooniverse, which many of you guys might be familiar with. But through Zooniverse, we kind of train citizen scientists to help us count and identify the fish in the photos. And so we have multiple volunteers looking at each photo. So if you're learning fish species and you have to guess on some of these fish species, it's no problem at all. We have multiple volunteers looking at each photo. And then we also have a team of experts. It's a mix of fishermen and scientists who are kind of we call them our validation team, that when there's a lot of volunteer disagreement, they can help confirm what's in the photo. And then The last component of the project is done outside of Zooniverse, but we developed a method to estimate the size of fish in photos by using kind of the lumber and the leaderboards where the fish were hanging. We're using that lumber as a scale to estimate the size of the fish. And so we were able to develop a method and then kind of measure some of the key species that we found in the photos. So we developed FISHstory, and thanks to Rusty, we had all of these photos from his family's fishing fleet. So we launched a small pilot project. And so through the pilot project, with Rusty's help, we kind of digitized and archived over 1,370 photos from the Daytona Beach, Florida area from the 1940s to 1970s. Through Zooniverse and all of our volunteers, we were really lucky to have over 2,100 folks who analyzed 1,000 of those photos. We had our validation team who reviewed 180 of those photos that had some tricky IDs. And what we really learned is that the data that the volunteers were kind of classifying in the photos were really good at sharing kind of trends for some of the key species that are seen most frequently over and over again in the photos. And then kind of the third component, we developed this method to estimate the size of fish in the photos. And we measured all the king mackerel, which is one species of fish, in the photos that we had, and made kind of length compositions to see if sizes changed over the kind of time periods where we had the photos. So some of the key takeaways from that pilot, we found that kind of the methods to gather or collect the data from these photos seemed to be working really well, and they showed a lot of promise. And volunteers were making awesome contributions in lots of different ways. They could help provide photos. They could help kind of analyze the photos in Zooniverse. And then we had volunteers serving on our validation team too. We also learned through the pilot and through some of our participants that there are ways that we could probably simplify the data collection to make things easier on volunteers and on us on the data analysis into things. And so when we relaunched the project in Zooniverse, we kind of included these simplified methodologies. And so hopefully that'll make it easier for folks to participate in the project. And then lastly, one of the most exciting things we found is when we were kind of sharing information about the project with folks, other fishermen, not just Rusty, were really interested in sharing their historic photos and their stories with the project, which was one of kind of the most exciting pieces. And so the pilot worked really well. So we wanted to grow the FISHstory project. And so our first step was we needed to get more photos. So Rusty provided photos from Daytona Beach, Florida, so one area. But the South Atlantic Council manages from North Carolina down through the Florida Keys. So if we can get photos from that whole area, then the data we're gathering from these photos is more representative of the whole region, not just that one area off of Florida. So over the past year, we've been working hard to kind of find more historic fishing photos. And we did this in lots of different ways. We held scanning events in communities. Some of our partners and the fishermen we knew helped us introduced us to folks. We've talked to libraries and restaurants and businesses and individual fishermen and fishermen's daughters and sons or granddaughters and sons that have had photos. And we've also found some folks have contacted us through social media, and that's been another way we've gotten photos. So we've been really lucky. And I think, you know, we started out with Rusty's photos, and now I think we have over 20-ish folks who've provided, maybe 25, 30, maybe even now, folks who provide photos for the project. And so just to give you a taste, we originally had photos just from Daytona Beach, Florida, which is this area right here. But now we have photos from the Outer Banks of North Carolina down through Key West, Florida. And so just to show a couple of these photos, this is a photo that we got from Morehead City, North Carolina, and it was on the wall of the Sanitary Fish House and Restaurant. And so it's a pretty amazing restaurant if you've never been there. They have whole walls devoted to these old fishing photos. It was a really big, particularly for the kind of for hire sector. So this came from that restaurant and its owner, Jeff Garner. This is another photo. This one is from Savannah, Georgia, and from Captain Judy Helmy. So her dad started Miss Judy Charters, one of the kind of oldest fishing charters in the Savannah area. And Miss Judy took it over and provided this photo from the 1980s. And then this last one here is a photo that was provided by Captain Skip Nielsen. He is a captain that works down in Isla Mirada in the Florida Keys and fishes out of Bud and Mary's Marina. So we've gotten a ton of different photos kind of spreading the range of photos. So now the data collected will be more representative of the whole South Atlantic region of the US. And so hopefully some of you guys now may want to join kind of the FISHstory team. And there are a couple ways you can do that. The first way is we're always looking for new historic photos. So if you have historic photos, think about sharing them with the FISHstory project. And even if you don't have photos, but know of restaurants or businesses that may have photos, you can drop a line to Meg and I, and we can kind of follow those leads. When we're looking for photos, in order to make them good for analysis, they need to be pictures or photos taken at the end of a fishing trip where that kind of harvested catch is displayed, ideally with the anglers who caught it. We need to have a year of the date, so we know kind of the year those fish were caught. A ballpark year is fine. We need to know kind of the state that fishing trip took place in. And then we always like to get the photo provider's name and contact. And that's just so we can let them know what's going on with their photos and what's going on with the FISHstory project. So that's what we need for a photo analysis. But to make a photo even better is if the fish are hanging on that leaderboard, then we can get that length measurement. If we have more specific data information, month, day, then we can look at different types of analyses to look at seasonality of when different types of fish were caught where. And then we always love just learning more information about kind of the city or the dock or who kind of was the captain of the vessel. All of that kind of stuff just helps us learn more about those kind of historic fisheries and just kind of learn more about kind of the fishermen and the captains that were operating back then. And so just a few examples of, this is a great photo for analysis. The fish are all hanging on the leaderboard. We have the captain's name, the boat name, the kind of day, month, and year. Another example photo that's still great. You can see the fish laid out on the dock. They're not hanging on the leaderboard, but you can see them laid out and could identify them fairly easily or count them fairly easily. So that's one way to participate in the project. So if you have any historic photos or know any businesses, groups, libraries that might have photos, we'd love to hear from you. And then the next way to participate in the project is to kind of help us analyze photos. And you can do that by joining the project in Zooniverse. And so in a few minutes, we're going to pop over to Zooniverse and we're going to do some classification of old fishing photos together. But before that, we wanted to ask you guys a few more questions. And so the first one is, we were wondering if any of you guys have ever gone fishing before. So we would love to hear if you guys are fishermen, how often you go, or if you're not kind of a fisherman, but just like fish.
And that poll should have popped up for you right now. I had a quick question while we're answering that. For the sharing the photos, do they have to be from the South Atlantic area then, right? So it's only that region of the world?
Yep. So that's what we're kind of most focused on right now. That's where our kind of analyses are focused on. Although I will say we've had other folks provide photos from up the Atlantic coast. So those aren't what we're looking for our analysis right now. But, you know, we're happy to digitize and archive those too, just because the people who have these old photos aren't going to be around forever. And we think they're really valuable. So I guess the short answer is yes, we're most focused on kind of the South Atlantic region, but if someone reaches out to us with kind of historic photos from other areas, we'll kind of digitize and archive those as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we're just about a couple more seconds. Oh, nope, we're good. Okay, so we got fisher folk on this call. Man, I think I'd be the only one to say, no, just a fan of fish, or at least I don't recall ever going.
Well, good. Well, then you guys are going to be great at Fish ID, I bet. And so this next little bit will probably be a review for you. But before hopping into the project, we thought it might be helpful to mention kind of what you're going to be asked to do. So in Zooniverse, you're going to be asked to identify and count fish in historic photos. And we have kind of tutorials in the project and a field guide in the project to help you kind of identify different species. One of the questions we wanted to ask you before getting into the project is, do you guys have any ideas about some characteristics that you could use to help identify one fish species from another? So if you have any suggestions on ways you can tell one fish apart from another, drop them in the chat.
as a non-fisher folk person, my brain immediately goes to Finding Nemo, which is very unhelpful, but well, if they don't respond to Nemo, you know it's not a clownfish. It doesn't have anything to do with that. For anyone who has gone fishing in this group, which was a group of you, I'm trying to think of like the names for different parts of the body of the fish, and I cannot think of any. So drop those things in the chat. That would be helpful, I think. It's probably a good answer, although I don't know what they're called. Fin. Got mouth, color, fins. Sounds like good answers, Kim. Mouth like shape. Is that what we're assuming?
So mouth shape, how it's kind of angled can sometimes help you too.
Yeah.
And the size of the mouth compared to kind of some of the other features.
Yeah. We've got general body shape too, fins, color.
Mm-hmm.
That was from Martin, which was sent to hosts and panelists. Martin, you can change your thing or your drop down menu to everyone if you want it to go to everyone, by the way. Good. Any other answers that are not related to these things already mentioned?
Y'all cover just about everything.
Oh, that's
so
good.
you know what you're doing. So before turning things over to Meg to kind of do a demo, again, this may be a kind of a review for some of you guys, but we just wanted to talk a little bit about fish anatomy or morphology. So a lot of different fish species have the same kind of parts, but they look a little different. And you can look at these different parts and compare kind of how it looks on one fish to another to try to help identify that fish. So someone already talked about this, the mouth, right? You can look at kind of the shape of the mouth, the angle of the mouth. Not only can that help you identify what fish species it is, but it can also help you get clues about what kind of food that fish eats. Then you have the operculum. That's kind of the hard bony plate that covers the gills, which is kind of how a fish gets oxygen. And sometimes the operculum will be shaped differently as a way that you can kind of tell the difference between fish. And then you have the dorsal fin that's at the top of the fish, and they kind of help keep the fish upright. And some dorsal fins are kind of segmented into two areas like you see here. This is a king mackerel on this fish. Next is the caudal fin or the tail. So that kind of moves side to side to help the fish move forward. And you'll see different shapes for that caudal fin. Some kind of are forked like this one. Some have kind of a wider fork, or some may look straight across as opposed to being forked. You have finlets, and those kind of help enhance kind of the swimming speed of a fish. Of your anal fin, and that helps provide kind of stability for the fish, and there'll be anal fins will be different shapes and sizes. Then you have the pectoral fins, and the pectoral fins are kind of the steering wheel of the fish. And you'll see kind of different placement of pectoral fins kind of along the body, which can help you identify different species. And then you have the pelvic fin, and those kind of help with fine-tuned kind of movements of a fish. And so that's a quick Fish Anatomy 101. And then the next thing we wanted to do is, so here are two fish. They have all of these same parts, but they look really different. Does anyone know what that bottom fish is by any chance? Since we have some fishermen on the call, no pressure at all. If you think you know what it is, drop it in the chat, but no worries. We're going to walk through fish ID and the project in a second.
It's not a clownfish.
Exactly.
Ooh, Martin's got an answer. Says red snapper.
Right on. Martin, you're absolutely correct. And so these are kind of a king mackerel on top, which is kind of that torpedo, very thin body shape. And on the bottom, it's a red snapper. So you first can look at the body shape, and it's really different. In color photos, you'll see these differences in color, right? A king mackerel is very silvery kind of in color. A red snapper is kind of reddish in color, and it gets to kind of whitish on its belly. But a lot of our photos are black and white. So instead of looking for those colors, you're looking for shading on the fish. You can see the very big differences in the tail shape, right? The king mackerel on top has that very narrowly forked tail. The red snapper actually has more of a, it doesn't show as much in this image, but it has more of a wide forked tail. You can look at kind of the differences in dorsal fins. You can look at the differences in anal fins here, the difference in the shape. And then some species kind of have a pointed anal fin. Other ones are more rounded. And then you can look at the mouth too, right? You can see kind of a big difference between the size of the mouth, and the red snapper's mouth turns up a little bit more compared to that king mackerel mouth. And then you can just look at kind of the shape of the head. The shape of the snout is very different. So y'all did very well. You know, kind of all the characteristics to look for to identify fish. And I know Martin got kind of the red snapper just like that. So we'll share a little bit more information about the project and how you can find it. And then I'm going to hand things over to Meg, and we're going to practice doing some photos together. So first, I'll hand it off to Emma to talk about how FISHstory is a SciStarter affiliate project.
Yes, which is a fancy way of saying that if you have a SciStarter account, you can get credit for every contribution you make to the project. So if you want to show off how awesome you are via your SciStarter account, which I highly recommend, I do it all the time, you would go to the SciStarter page for FISHstory, which is in the chat right now from Roland. And when you get to the Zooniverse page from there, so it'll be visit, you click the visit button, and then you'll create a Zooniverse account if it doesn't already exist. And all you need to know is your username for that. So once you have a Zooniverse username, you will take that username and drop it into your SciStarter info and settings, which you only have to do once, and then it will forever track. So if you do have a Zooniverse account and you have a SciStarter account, you can do it at any point. It doesn't have to be at the start of a project. It'll just start picking up all your contributions once you've added your username to that settings spot on SciStarter. So if any of you have difficulty with that or need help with that too, I'm happy to assist later on too, but I'll turn it back over to Meg in the meantime. Thanks.
All right, take it away, Meg.
All right, so let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. Oh, someone else might have to stop sharing their screen so I can share mine. There we go. I'm front and center. Here we go. All right, let me hide this. There we go. All right, can everyone see FISHstory?
Yes.
Fantastic. All right, so Julia and I are gonna walk through FISHstory together, and we're gonna start analyzing some photos. So Julia, we have a lot of awesome tools that folks can use when they're navigating the photos. So do we want to start with that?
So actually, Meg, just real quick, do you mind going back to the FISHstory main page so we can show people the different levels and things like that?
Yes, let me. Good call. There we go,
Awesome.
homepage.
All right, so when you guys go to the FISHstory project, this is the main page you'll start on. And so there are different levels in the project, and at each level, you're identifying different species or different types of fish. And so as you progress through the project, you'll unlock more levels. So we relaunched in Zooniverse last week. And we had level 1 photos as well, where people were helping us just kind of count the total number of fish and people in the photos. And our volunteers were so great that level 1 photos are all done. And so when you come to the project, you'll start with level 2 photos. If you want to scroll up just a little bit, Meg, before we get into classification. So just so you guys know, we don't need to dig into these now, but there's kind of an about page. So if you're interested in learning more about the project or learning more about the research team, there's also some FAQs, so frequently asked questions in the about section that can be helpful when you're getting started in the project. You can check them out there. And then also there's a feature called Talk. And these are different talk boards. So if you have questions for the research team, you can contact us through the talk boards, or you just want to share a cool photo or a cool fish that you saw in a photo with kind of the research team or other members, participants, volunteers for the project. You can do that during the talk boards. So those are just a few other ways you can learn more about the project. But now we'll get down to brass tacks and do some fish classification. So Meg, let's start off in level 2.
All right. So just so everyone knows, I have a monitor over here so that I can look at the photos up nice and close. I'm not ignoring everyone. So I would click on here, but we actually picked out like a good first photo to start off with. So I'm going to go grab that really fast. So that button would take us to this level 2.
And so first to just orient you guys with some of the tools that you can use to move the photo around. So there's a little toolbar on kind of the right or hand side of the picture. So we'll be marking species. So there's a little pencil icon that you can do that with. The arrow icon kind of helps you pan around the photo. Some of these species can be hard to see, so don't squint. There's zoom features, so you can zoom into the photo so you can see the fish up and close, or kind of zoom out a little bit. And then another tool at the bottom helps you kind of invert the colors. And so sometimes for fish that are hard, this can be super helpful because it helps you really see very crisply kind of like the outline of the fish body and the tail. So when you're kind of looking at the photo, don't forget about those tools that can help you kind of dive in and look at things kind of a little bit differently to help with those IDs. So when you start in this kind of level, a tutorial will automatically pop up. We're not going to walk through the tutorial because we're going to do it with you, but you can see at the top of the screen this tutorial. So that's always there for you to kind of look through the project to make sure you know what you're doing in level 2. And so for level 2, what we're doing is identifying 3 types of fish: king mackerel, which have more of that torpedo body shape. We have grouper, which have a more kind of rounded body shape and more of a flat kind of tail. And then sailfish, which have a huge dorsal fin. So sailfish can be pretty easy to kind of pick out. And so what we're going to do is each one of those has a different mark tool. So it's a different color of a mark. So when you want to mark a king mackerel, you click on the king mackerel, and then you kind of click on the fish that you think is a mackerel as close to the eye as you can. And so I'm pretty, I kind of look through photos all the same way, so because I don't want to miss fish. So I do it a lot like I'm reading a book. So I'll start on the top level of the leaderboard on the left-hand side, then look across, see if I can identify any king mackerel there, and then I'll go to the second row and move across. So we're looking for king mackerel, grouper, and sailfish in this picture. So let's start at the top level. And let's see, does anyone see a king mackerel, a grouper, or a sailfish in the photo? Drop it in the chat if you think you see one of those species. And if you think we don't have any of those species, just say none.
Now, as someone who would be concerned about other fish sneaking in, do we know for a fact that there are only these 3 types? Like, or will there be other fish types that we just kind of ignore? Essentially, is that the goal?
That's right. That's exactly right. So other fish you'll ignore. So I see, Martin, you said king mackerel. There are no grouper and no sailfish. Another Julie says king mackerel. Y'all are going to be good fishery volunteers. And
Oh,
so
no.
There's one other tool that might be helpful to use to see, to kind of, some species can look like each other. So Meg, if you'll show folks the field guide and pop it up. So in the field guide, we have kind of deep dives into each of the fish you'll be identifying. So if you click on the level 2 fish, king mackerel, you can see there's a lot of example photos, descriptions of what the kind of fish look like, and then some of what we call tricky torpedoes for king mackerel. So other fish that appear in the photos that may have a similar body shape. So one of those is called a little tunny, which you'll be doing kind of in later levels, but a king mackerel has a really thin torpedo shape, whereas a little tunny has more of a football shape. And so we don't have to go through all of these, but just so you guys know that these are here to help. So for fish that we think kind of look like can get easily mixed up with other species, we kind of have added those into the field guide. And I'll also say, if folks have questions about IDs, or kind of they think it's kind of 2 different species are tricky, let us know on the talk board, and we can put together even more materials that we can add to the field guide or share on the talk board. Oh yeah, so Martin, yeah, you missed the false albacore. So you can see the false albacore kind of in the middle, in between, right there. between all the king mackerel, and you can see that that has kind of a football body shape and kind of markings along the upper half of its body, whereas the mackerel has kind of that skinny, long, skinny shape, and a very pointy nose, and they both have kind of those narrow forked tails. So how many king mackerel do we think we have in this photo, Meg? Let's mark them.
Okay. So we got 1, 2, 5, 6, skipping our friend here. 8, 9, 10, 11. Looks like we have 11.
All right. And so another thing that may be helpful to note. So let's say we marked one that we didn't think was a king mackerel and wanted to get rid of it. The way you do that is, do you see the arrows on the toolbar? So click there and then click on one of the marks. Once you do that, you can move a mark around if you wanted to, or you can exit out and delete it. So if you kind of think something is a king mackerel or a grouper, but then you get a second look and you think it's not, it's really easy to go in and remove the mark.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
So easy to do. So I think we've identified all the fish in this photo. So you would scroll to the bottom and click done. And then you move on to the next photo.
Amazing.
Wow.
All right, we're gonna try one other level 2 photo that we had kind of picked out here.
Yep.
And so again, we're looking for king mackerel, grouper, and sailfish. So do people see that poor third fish? I know there's one that got chomped by a shark.
Oh no.
Photo.
Wait, really? How? Wait, if you're fishing, you grab the fish, shark comes up like, ooh, you got my meal for me? Is that what happened? Is that what we're assuming?
I guess they were reeling it in and the fish chomped off the back half. The shark chomped off the back half of that, looks like a mutton snapper maybe. And then they brought in the rest of the fish. So that happens sometimes. And sometimes the shark will get the whole fish.
Rude.
Very.
Okay, sorry. Identifying again.
No worries. So we're looking for other species of fish. So Meg, let's zoom in a little bit and see what we see. Okay, so we're looking at all the fish. So first I start on the left-hand side, go across, kind of look for that king mackerel body shape.
Yeah.
Does anyone see anything that looks like a king mackerel? If so, write king mackerel in the chat.
They're all too wide, unless they're on the ground.
Yeah. The ground are a little bit hard to tell. And so one thing I will say is when these fish are kind of laid out, so you might be able to tell what they are. In some of our photos, there's like wheelbarrows full of fish or like trash cans full of fish because they caught so many. So don't worry about identifying kind of fish in those photos. The folks in level 1 let us know there was a big pile of fish in that photo. So we're kind of aware of that. Oh man, Martin, you're right on. Those are yellowtails. I hope you joined the FISHstory project. You know your stuff. So the fish on the left-hand side of the screen, before the fish that was chomped, those are yellowtail snapper. And so lots of keys free diving in your youth. That's awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so yellowtail snapper, you'll be identifying another kind of snapper in level 3, but you can see that really big forked tail. It's kind of yellowy, and you can see kind of a stripe going down the side, and it's kind of symmetrically shaped, kind of almondy shaped. That tells you that it's kind of a yellowtail snapper, and it's that tail that gives it away. Yeah. Does anyone see grouper?
Yes. I think
yes,
so.
right on. So which one do you think are grouper? Let's Meg go over the top and stop her when she comes to her. What do you think is a grouper?
There? That group in the middle. I can't see the tail at the bottom of that one, but it has to have the flat, not the forked tail. I was looking for that in the training on the side. So a
Yeah.
bunch of them,
Yes.
unless, I mean, if they're all different ages and man, they're big.
There are some big groupers. So these are all different species, or a lot of them are the same species actually, but there's lots of different species of grouper. And so it can be really tricky to identify grouper to species in some of these photos, especially if they're black and white. So volunteers just need to tell us they're a grouper species. And so you can see lots of different grouper species in the photos, but kind of they all have that kind of symmetrical wide body shape. They have a mouth that kind of is large and kind of turns up at the end. And then a lot of them will have kind of patterning on the body. So some of the snapper species you'll see will look red or silvery and then kind of white on the belly. These guys have more patterns kind of on the side. And there's a difference in the shape of the pectoral kind of fins between kind of some of the snappers and the groupers too.
Nice.
And the ones on the ground, or wait, are all of those starting on the one behind the woman's head? Are all those off to the right then groupers, or any of them? Do people naturally just put them in here's the groupers? We want to put them in sections. It's helpful.
Sometimes they do, and so that makes it easier to kind of identify in photos.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, sometimes they're kind of multiple levels of the leaderboards, and you always see the biggest kind of sexiest fish kind of on top, kind of being shown off, and some of the smaller fish that may have been kept kind of further down. So yeah, everything between all of the darker kind of looking species, all those guys are grouper.
Wow.
Awesome.
Cool.
Should we go ahead and start marking?
Yep. So make sure you have kind of the pencil on the toolbar and click on grouper and then click as close to the eye as you can.
All right.
Can you remind me again, why are we clicking as close to the eye as possible?
So that just helps us. So if helps us know how what volunteers are identifying as a specific fish. So we just try to make people mark in consistently the same place. That way, when we do the analysis, sometimes we can look at the kind of coordinate, the XY of where that mark is, and that can help us figure out what fish different volunteers are calling grouper. And so if we see that can help us figure out which fish seem to be trickiest amongst the volunteers, so we can put together more training materials or stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Now they all look like they have beady eyes.
Yes. I'm all kind of look evil a little bit, with the marker on them. So Julia, if we have a fish where we had shark depredation, where a shark got a nice big chomp, and that makes it difficult for me to know if that's my species or not, do you want me to guess?
If there's enough of the fish left that you can guess, please do. Your guesses count. Don't be worried about getting kind of a wrong identification. Lots of volunteers are looking at each photo. And then we have that validation team of experts where if all of the volunteers are seeing different things, we get them to kind of look at it and confirm something in a photo. So this one, if you know your fish, you might be able to identify it. Again, it looks snappery to me, but you don't get that tail. So if you can guess, please guess. If you can. So it's not one of these fish, I don't think, but if you can guess, you can. So we've looked at level 2 photos where we're identifying kind of king mackerel, grouper, and sailfish. Do people want to stay on level 2 and look at those same species, or do y'all want to try a level 3 fish? Let us know in the chat.
Based on time too, I'm thinking
geez,
it might be good to look at maybe one more of level 3, test out level 3, and then we'll kind of wrap. Oh yeah, John and Julie are like, yes, let's
Level
move
3 it is.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right. So level 3, we're looking for red snapper, amberjack, and sharks.
Sharks?
And,
okay, sorry, got excited.
Go ahead.
No, I just got excited. I like when sharks are involved.
They're cool.
Sharks are one of the most exciting things to find in the photos. That's where a lot of people are using the talk boards about sharks. All right, so again, we start in the upper left corner. We look at kind of the different body shapes between the red snapper the amberjack, and the sharks. And so first we're just kind of start in upper left and move our way across. Does anyone think they see red snappers or amberjack or sharks on the top row? If so, drop a species in the chat that you think you see. Right on. Red snapper near the beginning.
Thought I would be terrible at this. Thank you for making me feel good.
So we got a few, okay, red snapper top left, amberjack top right. That's right on, Martin. You're right on. But one thing I will say, there's a tricky snapper in this photo. And so if you look at this on the far left corner, so this one, red snapper. If you look at the snapper beside it, you can see it looks a lot the same, but see how it looks a little bit darker in color? Oh, yep, mangrove. Martin, that's right. So that's called a mangrove or a gray snapper. So in these black and white photos, they can be kind of tricky to tell. If you have a color photo, they'll look a lot more kind of, it's like a darker red, kind of purpley gray color. But if you're looking at black and white photos, you can look at kind of the shading, and even just, so that's a gray snapper surrounded by two red snapper. You can see how it's much darker in color, particularly on when you get towards the belly. And then the other thing that I look for a lot, Meg, if you'll zoom in a bunch so we can look at, all right. The other thing is you can look at the anal fin. And so the first one, you can see a red snapper and it has a very pointed anal fin. And then if you look at the gray snapper beside it, it has a rounded anal fin. So that's another way that you can tell the difference between those two, but that's a really tricky ID. But yeah, most of these are red snapper. That's the only gray snapper I saw on that top row.
I was fooled by the tail looks like it's more forked than it should be for red snapper. So some of these, is it just like the dimension of like where it's facing or how it's being put up, I assume? Yeah, that's
how
tricky.
It's facing, how it's hung. And then another thing that we haven't mentioned yet is sometimes you'll see, let's see. Oh, if you scroll down, Meg, onto one of the vermilion in the second row, you'll see that like tails get clipped right there.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes when folks went on the boat, that was a way for you to identify which fish were yours. So you'll see tails clipped in different areas. So if the kind of right hand, the top of the caudal fin was clipped, it was my fish, but if it was the bottom of the caudal fin, it was Meg's fish. So that's how they kept track of which fish you were taking home with you to eat for dinner. So sometimes you'll see weird things like that. And then sometimes also the fish would be put on ice. So you don't see this as much in the black and white photos. It's not as easy to see, but sometimes you'll get discoloration from where the ice was laying on the fish. So that can be a little tricky too, but yeah.
Okay.
So we had a lot of red snapper. Let's mark them up.
All right.
And then Emma, you stop us when we need, I know we're running later than we.
Oh, yeah. I'll actually, while you're marking that one, I'm going to hijack your screen share, I think. Just for a bit, sorry. Hijacked it.
Go for it.
Amazing job, everyone who was able to get to those answers. I'm impressed with myself. I thought that was going to be harder than it was, so I'm glad that we all had a good time of it. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen. There were two more polls we wanted to ask because we want to know how you feel after this, like my explanation of feeling better than I thought I would. Do we plan on doing more FISHstory in your future? Does this seem like the project that has changed your habits and now you want to be an expert a FISHstory citizen scientist? To go ahead and answer in the chat, those of us who are still here. And I apologize, we're 2 minutes out, so if you had to leave at the hour, hopefully we can rush all this in before you're out of here. Oh, I see yeses. That's amazing.
Yay! We want you to join the FISHstory team. Hooray!
Woo! And recommendation, yeah. I know I have people in my family I want to recommend too because they like fishing, and so or go more often than I do, which is ever. And so it's a good person to recommend it to. they can practice for when they are seeing the fish. All right, so we've got a good mix. No one's a no, so that's good news for me. Excellent. And then secondly, we want to know just feedback about the project if there are particular parts that you really like about it. So what aspects of the project do you find most interesting? Is it you enjoy fishing, and so looking at pictures of fish is super fun? Do you want to practice or improve your fish ID skills? I probably would mark that one. I think that's one of my big ones. I like looking at historic photos. I want to contribute to fisheries science. Feel free to drop in the chat. For those of you looking at or who are looking at historic photos, I totally agree. And I was thinking to myself, do you have like a catalog of like the story? I know you mentioned like what makes a photo even better, but stories behind people's photos. I know that Rusty is a specific case of like, his deal, but do you share information about the other people who submit these photos to you?
We have started to, and so one cool thing that we did when Rusty provided his photos, so he provided information, so his granddad, his dad, his uncle, all of those folks, but they used to do newspaper articles called like Skipper of the Week, where they would like highlight one of the captains and talk about one of their they had a good fishing trip that week. So we have some of that information already in the about section, so you can check it out. And then as we're kind of growing and getting photos for more captains, we're planning to add more of their kind of stories to kind of the about section of the project, because that's one of the coolest parts learning about it. Meg and I were at there's a big recreational fishing trade show in Florida that we were at last week talking about fishery. And someone named Kathy Owen, who is the daughter of a captain from the Daytona Beach, Florida area, saw a post on our social media about FISHstory. She kind of submitted photos that were her father's. I talked to someone at this show who was like best friends with her dad, and they fish together all the time. So I was able to say, oh my gosh, look at these photos that they provided. So, I mean, I think it's crazy to see how many connections there are kind of in the fishing community up and down our coast. And we're learning more and more about those kind of stories and connections through these photos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm now just really in the mood for fish for dinner. So that's also a nice benefit to have happening. Amazing. Yeah, I look forward to reading more of the stories. I want to take a peek at that about page later. The screen I'm sharing right now is the one that you saw at the beginning for those of you on Zoom. If you wanted information on how to contact the team, they are also dropped in the chat for you. And I'm sure they'd love to hear from you and answer your questions if there are any. You can also reach out to SciStarter, which Roland will drop our link in the chat. But thank you so much, Meg and Julia, for sharing this with us. I really enjoyed going through those and feeling very smart about how to answer these questions. It helps to use the power of the crowd, even if it's just within an event too. So Martin, you are the superstar. Oh, and Martin's already gone, but that's okay. Thank you, Martin. You're a superstar. Excellent. And just to prepare you all for following weeks, if you are interested in joining us again for another one, we have a couple of events coming up, including if any of you love moths, which I love moths, rather I love caterpillars and therefore moths. We have an event next week to talk about National Moth Week, which is this week. So go mothing and then tell us about it next week. And then we're talking about writing obituaries for people who are researching in obituaries for people who don't have their histories written in the following one. So it's another social science historical one coming up on August 13th. And then we'll be talking about fall bird migration at the end of August. So hopefully we'll get to see you all there or at other events anyway. And Roland has dropped the blog post with all of our events in the future in the chat as well. So that is super helpful. And we have a bunch of resources. I won't spend too much time because we're 3 minutes after, but if you need to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at info@SciStarter.org. And there are, and Roland already dropped that, sorry, Roland. And all the resources that Roland dropped before then included the pages on social media to find I'm going to do it again, Suffmic. It's gonna have to be a thing. You're gonna have to start saying it. And if you're willing, we do have a post-event survey, so you can tell us how we did and tell us what you want to hear about next. And we hope you enjoyed being a part of this. But thank you all for being here and have a wonderful rest of your day. And again, Meg and Julia, thank you so much. This has been awesome. I'm glad we could have you both on board.
Thanks for having us. It was great sharing FISHstory with all of you guys, and hopefully we'll see some of you on Zooniverse.
Yes. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar recording.